So I want to start our discussion by talking about the components of a product. And we'll understand the role a brand plays when we break down a product. We also call this the product onion. We call this the product onion. So when you look at a product, there's at the core level of a product, we call this the core product, We talk about the features, the functions, the design, and other things like packaging, pricing, and the efficacy, the effectiveness of the product. Those are at the core of a product. And at the next layer, we look at some of the service elements that are attached to the product, like the delivery, after sales service, before sales service, guarantees, warranties, advice, all that. And at the periphery, we talk about intangibles attached to the product. So your brand, in terms of your brand name, your brand image, your brand reputation, all form the intangible aura of your product, as you can see. So you have the physical product, packaging, but around all this is an aura, which is the intangible aura of the perceptions that the customer has of the quality of the product, the reputation of the company and the brand selling the product, the image, the positioning, the brand is at an intangible level at the periphery. So strong brands, if you look at some of the luxury brands, you can see a very large aura at the periphery, right? Sometimes the product itself that you buy, let's say if it's a pair of shoes or a handbag, if you buy a Gucci or a Ferragamo or Prada or Hermes or whatever luxury brand, the tangible product itself is a small piece of leather. The box is the packaging. It will be nicely packaged. But when the brand name is put on that pair of shoe, that is when the price goes up. And that is the image, the reputation dimension, the quality dimension, the value dimension is attached to the brand. So this is the power of branding. And when we talk about branding, we obviously talk about how you need to innovate. Part of the proposition that the brand offers is innovation. Look at Apple, for example. Why is it the most popular brand in the world by brand finance? Why is Apple sought after and commands very premium prices consecutively every year? It's sustaining its brand. Its share price is attributed to its brand performance, how the brand is managed. If you walk into Apple store, you then understand how the brand is sold differently to that of others. The culture of that brand, the personality, and how they carefully build that brand as a cult. And it has a huge loyalty and a following. Now, part of the brand's success is also the fact that the brand is reinvigorated every year through innovation. Every September, in fact, it's on my birthday, 9th of September or 10th of September sometimes, they launch the new iPhone. And with that, they go into new iPads, the new generation of iPods, the laptops, the desktops, the software updates, and all that. And that gives them a new product life cycle. They are extending their product life cycle. So innovation is about changing established products, processes, and practices. Innovation thrives best in an organization when it is supported by a culture. So part of the number one brand right now in the world by Brand Finance in terms of brand equity ranking is the fact that it is reinvigorated once a year. They come up with new variants, new packaging, new styles, new colors with a few extra features. Sometimes it's not completely new features, but slightly modified. That's okay. That helps, creates a new generation. iPhone 16, 17, God knows how far they will launch it. Right. So you need to innovate continuously. If you stop innovating as a brand over time, when you have another innovator in the market, a competitor who does that better than you will lose your competitive advantage. You need to continuously innovate. Even if you are a celebrity, a movie star, you can't keep only doing one kind of movies. It gets boring. You have to continuously innovate, try new things. If you're a tennis player, football player, cricketer, you can't keep playing the same shots. You have to keep trying new things and innovate. And that will sustain your brand consistency, because innovation is something that people perceive as new and reinvigorating. And innovation will help you meet customer needs. You can go into look at product innovation, process innovation, service innovation. And often we use something called benchmarking to innovate and improve really fast. Benchmarking is when you get the best in class product in the world, and then, I mean, it's a decent word for copying. It's a decent word in management for copying. But copying, when you say copying, it's ugly, no? We say benchmarking. Benchmarking is you get the best in class product in the world. And then you try and understand, you re-engineer the manufacturing process. Sometimes we call that reverse engineering, where we remove that product, nuts and bolts, if it's a laptop, remove the product, remove it into small, small parts, study each part, and then you see what you can learn to create a new laptop in a separate brand. That's called reverse engineering. So benchmarking is a very important process, right? And you can also improve how you communicate your message, your marketing process. And this was something that I spoke of before as well. This was very refreshing. When I walked into the Dilma store in Colombo 7 to have a cup of tea, I saw this Dilma Excelsior, or an extract of tea. Black tea with lemon and lime flavor extract. So you just, this is, by the way, non-alcoholic, no alcohol, zero alcohol. Those days when we go to a house, they make Sunquick can give us, no? Sunquick, right? Cordial. Now you don't need to do that. You can make a nice black mocktail, like what you can see here, in seconds. All you need is this bottle, and you pour a couple of teaspoons, very little, and then you mix it with some soda or whatever it is, Sprite or whatever it is, and it tastes amazing, very refreshing. It's a tea extract, right? So can you see how this brand is now going into other avenues, as opposed to only selling tea bags and loose tea is now going into other applications of tea. Maybe tea jelly, maybe tea ice cream. Now, this is a tea extract for the cocktails and mocktails. So, brand innovation refers to evolving and transforming a brand to stay relevant, competitive, and aligned with changing market dynamics and customer expectations. If you don't innovate, your brand will be perceived to be stale. So you need to continuously innovate. So there are many reasons as to why you would innovate. To bring about novelty of a product or service, legal protection of intellectual property rights, to extend the range, provide variety and choice. Sometimes you can get a first mover advantage. It is a robust platform where you can design, come up with new designs, rewriting the rules, strategic lock-in, where your competitors will not be able to tap into your customers because you are continuously innovating and fulfilling the customer needs and wants. It avoids a company strategically drifting away, improves productivity, enhances reputation. So you can see multiple reasons as to why an organization should and would innovate. And there are two broad types of innovation. There's incremental innovation. Incremental innovation is something like this. Small scale innovations every day, every week, every month, you make changes. And a big bang, revolutionary innovation is this. You make small changes, and then all of a sudden you make a big change. And again, you make small changes. Again, you make a big change. Again, you make small changes. So, incremental and revolutionary change. So, you need to be careful sometimes to practice revolutionary change. You need to first practice incremental change, incremental innovation, and be really good at it. And over a period of time, that is when you need to have revolutionary innovation, not at once. Okay. So we looked at all this coming together in the brand equity pyramid. We understood Kevin Lane Keller's brand equity pyramid. What are the 4 questions? We looked at this in the previous chapter. Brand identity is who are you? First, build salience, build your identity, awareness, top of mind recall. I hope you can remember. When that is positive, when people out of 100, let's say 80, 90% know that you are there in your target audience. So do something to get identified. They need to know that you're there in this world as a brand. Then you can communicate the meaning of your brand, the performance, the imagery. That's the second step of building a brand. Then the response, judgment and feelings. And finally, the relationship, the resonance. We discussed this, each components and the subdimensions in the previous chapter. So you need to study this model because this model by Kevin Lane Keller is from the book Strategic Brand Management, which is recommended reading for this subject. So this model can have some questions. So please study it in detail. So when you use this model to develop a brand, these are the 4 questions. These are the 4 stages. So this is also called the customer-based brand equity pyramid or the CBBE model or the pyramid, right? So the first stage is identity. Without identity, if your identity is negative, forget about building a brand. So the first step is making sure that your brand identity is positive. Make consumers aware of the brand and associate the brand with a specific category or a consumer need. Once this is positive, you go into the second stage, which is how do you have your brand meaning positioned in the mind of the customer. So create brand meaning in consumers' minds by linking certain brand properties with a range of tangible and intangible brand associations. One brand that has done this well is Rolex. There are many things that come into your mind when we think of Rolex. The Rolex brand. Then sample, get people to try it. Third stage is elicit a response. Generate rational and emotional consumer responses. And finally, how do you encourage people to buy over and over again, which is brand resonance, the fourth step of active loyalty. Transform consumer responses to long-term loyalty relationships. So these are the four stages in the customer-based brand equity pyramid. So we look at then the meaning of brand identity. So brand identity is a combination of the color of the brand, the design, the logo, the packaging, and how people will relate to the brand. It is composed of the externally visible elements, including the packaging, that consumers might use to differentiate the product from that of competitors. And consistency of identity is very important. The consistency, right? We sort of looked at this before as well. All brands should have a purpose as to why they are in this world. What is the purpose statement? So why should a brand be there? The brand purpose is a company's reason for being. This is why it is there in this world. So Coca-Cola, to refresh the world and inspire moments of optimism and happiness. Google, to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. And you can sort of see this purpose when you look at their products. So the purpose of a brand is something that is very important. And we looked at the term brand management before as well. Brand management is a broad term that is used to describe the marketing strategies to maintain and improve brand awareness. This is a good book by Noel Kapferer, Strategic Brand Management, which is in your recommended reading. You can download it as well. Strong brand management helps build and nurture closer relationships with the customer. So brand management is science. It is something that is evolving, especially with in the digital landscape today. Branding and brand management has evolved into a complete science. And finally, we understand vision statements for a brand. So these are some of the vision statements of Disney. It's very simple. Disney is a 100-year-old company just to make people happy. BBC to be the most creative organization in the world. IKEA to create a better everyday life for many people. So with that, this is a small set of theories in this assessment criteria, most of which we have looked at, and how innovation, brand vision, brand purpose, all that help formulate and integrate one another. So this is assessment criteria 3.1. I will see you in assessment criteria 3.2 for brand proposition.